Hi, I'm Rodney Miller.
And I'm Jan Carl. Thanks for choosing to watch this clip from our Small Town Big Deal YouTube channel.
For full episodes, go to our website, smalltownbigdeal.com.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel to find all kinds of great clips.
Now enjoy the video. We are in Selma, Alabama on the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Now, the original purpose was simply to help cars get back and forth across the Alabama River.
But in 1965, this bridge became a turning point in American history.
There are times that the bravery of ordinary citizens is truly a big deal. And in this case, it also helped create momentous and vital change.
It was a time when African Americans were trying to secure the rights any Americans should be able to take for granted.
In many parts of the country, separate and unequal was the law of the land.
Across Alabama, manipulating rules, intimidation, and outright violence had long kept African Americans from registering to vote. In Selma, only about 2% of eligible black residents had been allowed to register.
On a chilly morning in March 1965, the community gathered at Brown Church and prepared to march to Alabama's capital city, Montgomery.
They had a simple demand: the right to vote.
I was 15, my brother 13. It was my idea. My brother says, Mom says don't march. But I'm like, we'll get to the back of the line and we'll be fine.
Back then, Diana Harris was one determined teenager.
At 15, were you not frightened?
I think I was too young to fear. I had no fear that day. I always knew that I could be arrested. My mother knew that also.
Diana was there on Sunday, March 7, 1965.
It'll be detrimental to your safety to continue this march.
A day that became known as Bloody Sunday.
Bloody Sunday was the day that the marchers were attacked. The tear gas, the beatings, and whatever else. You heard people yelling, screaming, crying. People were running back, trying to get back to the church for their safe haven.
Deputized men on horseback, called posse men, swung billy clubs, beating the marchers as they tried to run back to the church. One chased Diane and her brother.
This posseman ran us all the way to the church. The horse ran up the steps of Brown Chapel, and we both hugged each other and cried.
I remember watching that on the evening news just as a young boy, and I couldn't comprehend how someone could do that to someone else. And I still can't.
The media showed all of America what was happening in Selma. President Lyndon Johnson deployed the National Guard to protect the marchers. It was only then that they could safely begin their trek to Montgomery.
Marchers walked 54 miles in 3 days, camping out along the way. Driving along the highway today, you're following in the footsteps of people who refused to back down. They finally made it to Montgomery.
Oh, that was a day of jubilation. That day was just a beautiful sight because you saw black and whites together of all races, all church denominations. You saw rabbis, nuns, priests, you name it, they were there. They came from everywhere.
Today, people still come from everywhere to see important civil rights locations throughout Montgomery.
The Civil Rights Memorial Center commemorates people who died fighting for civil rights.
So this is actually the spot where she was arrested.
And then there's the site where Rosa Parks was arrested back in 1955, an act that marked the beginning of the modern civil rights movement.
The Rosa Parks Museum is a monument to the courage of an ordinary woman who decided she should not have to give up her seat on a bus simply because of the color of her skin. Artwork and historic images commemorates her arrest and the bus boycott that followed 381 days when African Americans instead walked miles to work or shared cars like this one rather than ride on segregated buses. You can see a bus like the one Rosa Parks was riding on the day she did her part to change the world.
It's kind of hard to imagine. The day she got on that bus, she had no idea she was about to change history.
Seeing this bus reminded Rodney and me when we once got to sit in the actual bus Rosa Parks was riding when she was arrested.
The driver said that if I refused to leave the seat, he would have to call the police, and I told him, just call the police. They placed me under arrest. The time had just come when I had been pushed as far as I could stand to be pushed, I suppose.
It was an incredible feeling to be in the bus and then listening to Rosa Parks' voice talk about the incident. I mean, she had to sit to stand up.
I know Rosa Parks has said many times about the choices we make in life determine where we go, but who would have ever thought that moment in time there when she made that choice would change the course of history?
We can relate to her because she was such just an ordinary person, but she did something extraordinary, and I think that is what we want our visitors to take away here at the Rosa Parks Museum, that even you can do a very simple act that can possibly change the world. I think today even young people can be inspired by Mrs. Parks and by her act of bravery and courage.
The bus boycott lasted for over a year, and it took a U.S. Supreme Court decision to finally force Montgomery to desegregate its buses. It would be another 10 years before the march from Selma to Montgomery and the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which said race cannot be used to keep people from voting.
Special places like the Rosa Parks Museum and the Edmund Pettus Bridge help us remember the people whose shoulders we stand on.
They serve as a bridge between the past and the present and remind us all that we have a role to play in building a more perfect union.
Thanks for watching this clip from Small Town Big Deal. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and be sure to click the bell so you'll be notified when we upload new videos. Also, click the like button. To see full episodes, go to www.smalltownbigdeal.com.